Staff are the problem.
Actually, I think maybe you miss what I said. When you read you need to read literacy review in the first place. Am I right?
Yes.
After you read, what do you need to do? You need to write whatever you have read. You summarize. You discuss with your supervisor's notes. You know what I mean? Or a report. I call it report. I don't call it chapter 2 because it has no structure. You just simply write, cluster, put in the table, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah. And from there, you identify the gap. Oh, okay, now I identified the gap based on my reading, based on my report. That's why sometimes students will ask to write a literature review, a review papers to the journal. That's part of the report, but that is not chapter 2 yet. You understand now?
Yes.
If you write chapter 2 as it is, okay, how are you going to shape the chapter 2 structure? That's when we commence, when the student just simply write anything they like, no control measure was taken to control the flow of the content, is not correlated, because you have to understand that. You have to answer why you put that 2.1 in the first place. You must justify that. Where to start? You have to justify that. Why the second paragraph is the second paragraph. You have to justify that. The only way you can do that if you write your chapter 2 after your chapter 1. But you have the reports. That reports, when you read a lot of things, okay, you write what we call the reports. Or maybe you say, okay, I have written chapter 2, but I still consider it as a report. Then you go to chapter 1, you write your chapter 1. After you finish writing chapter 1, then you need to revisit your chapter 2. Start from the scratch. There you will try to take your report into chapter 2. Now do you understand my intention?
Yes.
Do you understand, Usman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, it's actually Garba.
Sorry?
It was Garba who asked the question, sir.
Okay. So that is, I'm not saying that you cannot write chapter 2 after chapter 1. But my advice is, if you want to write chapter 2, you need to write from the scratch. You cannot just simply take your report and convert into chapter 2. Because the flow of chapter 2 must comply with the flow of chapter 1. This is how you control your writing. That's why I have been attending more than 40 PhD Viva. Most of them, 70 of them, have problem when writing literature. The first one is lack of criticality, because the students tends to summarize instead of say something. Second, flow. The problem with the flow is not connected. It's all over the place. And so many unnecessary, because they write the 2 before they write chapter 1, and they never revisit chapter 2. They should compare chapter 2 and chapter 1, because chapter 2 is used to justify whatever you have said in chapter 1, because chapter 1 has less rooms for you to explain in detail. This results in a super lengthy chapter 2, and it got mixed up with unnecessary information, because student tends to say that the more I write, the better. Okay. Report, yes. When you write the report, you just simply write whatever you have read. You write a report, you summarize. But then you need to filter. Am I right? Yeah. So this is a back and forth. But in the end, similar to when people write the novel book, sometimes they imagine, or they just simply summarize the idea. Want to write, they will start from the first page. That's why I said my advice. If you want to proceed with chapter 2 first, no problem. Okay? I never said that you cannot write anything. It must start with chapter 1. I'm just simply saying that when you want to write a proper chapter 2, it must follow chapter 1. Okay? And when you want to write chapter 2, it's based on the report that you have made. The report you have made contains a lot of necessary and unnecessary information. It's kind of a
Yes.
filtering process. Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not saying that, okay, you cannot write anything about chapter 2. Just write chapter 1. No, I'm not saying that. Okay? Just to clarify. All right.
Oh,
Because this is the problem faced by students. Sometimes it really frustrates me because chapter 2 is very important. Remember, chapter 1 is the soul. Chapter 2 is the brain. How knowledgeable you are will be judged based on what you have written in chapter 2. If your chapter 2 is not strong, okay, got mixed up, very confusing, this will leave such a bad impression. Okay. So, and then when student ask me how to control your writing in chapter 2, because he said he has tendency to put lot of things into chapter 1, into chapter 2. I said, you check your chapter 1. If your chapter 1 has been approved by your supervisor, use your chapter 1 as the foundation to start your chapter 2. You just simply follow the flow. Then you will be okay. You will be fine. Because in chapter 2, you have two problems. First, where to start. Second, the weightage. Okay, so this part, should I write 1 pages, 2 pages? You need to consider certain topic need to be given more weightage. Okay, that is something that you need to discuss with your supervisor and also use your instinct. Okay, good. Any more question?
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Just from your 15 years experience as a supervisor, there are different opinions as to number of journals that you should read. Some say like 600 journals, 500 journals. So from your experience,
600 journal. You have no life. Okay, based on my experience, do you want to know my honest opinion? There is no specific numbers. That's my answer. But of course, 10 journal is not sufficient. It is 10 journal. 10 journal is not. I cannot give you the numbers, but 600 is too much, I think.
It's too much.
It's too
Maybe
much.
60.
Okay. It depends. It depends on the nature of your research. For instance, my student, he did fatigue on concrete. And then he was super depressed because he can only find a handful of papers, like 20, 30 papers. But I said that 20, 30 papers are super high quality. That is more than sufficient. And he passed because fatigue on concrete fatigue is considered rare as opposed to steel fatigue. Not many people talk about fatigue, concrete fatigue. Same goes to our friend there, radiation, bacteria, concrete. So you cannot compare his literature, say, okay, he has a friend who do material, concrete material as well, but using fly ash. And he said, I have found 200 journals talking about. Okay, but you cannot compare. Maybe your topic, bioconcrete, is new. To get 30 journal is more, you are considered lucky to have 30 journal. But what is more important is not the numbers. The more important is how recent your publication, your literature. That is more important than the numbers, if you ask me. Okay, clear.
yes, sir. Thank you so much.
But don't read 600. Come on, guy. You need to have life, please. If you ask me, 100, even 100 is considered a lot. Even 100 is considered, but I cannot give you exact numbers. How many is many? Yeah, so that is my answer. Means that it depends on the nature of your research. As long as 70% of your literature reviews are considered recent, up to date, 5 years back from the date you do your research, then you will be fine. You will be fine. Okay? I hope I am answering your question. But please don't read 600. And one more thing, my friend.
Yes.
Have you ever figured out why it's quite difficult to understand the content of the journal every time you read the journal. Sometimes you repeat the journal you read 10 times, you still cannot get the answer. Do you know why? Are you experiencing this problem? Mean every
Yes.
time you read journal, you feel like, am I too stupid? I cannot understand this paper.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
I tell you one secret. Do you know why we write books? The intention of writing books and journal are totally different. We write books. Books is normally written based on a compilations of at least 10 years of experience. Means that the research has been done in the past 10 years. Then based on that knowledge, you write a book so that people can understand in detail the subject matter. But journal is written not to make the reader understand the detail, not to make you understand the detail. Instead, journal is written just to tell the readers the current state of the progress of the research in that particular area. If you want to know more, you have to read the thesis or you have to contact the authors. So don't feel too stupid every time you read the papers you don't understand, because it's not the nature of the journal to make the reader understand everything from the first line to the last one.
Okay.
Now you know why you read. Why you read the journal? Not to become clever. To become clever and knowledgeable, you read books. But to remain relevant and aware with the current situation related to body of knowledge, you read journal. That's all. So don't read journal because you want to be more knowledgeable. Of course, you will become more knowledgeable, but it's good to read books to be a wiser person. Does that make sense, my friend?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Simply read journal. You must read book as well. Read books so that you can develop your brain. Read journal to improve your awareness. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
That's all. So don't feel
Alright.
disappointed every time you read the journal. You cannot understand, but you always forget. Every time you read the journal, you have improved your awareness regarding the current state of progress. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
That is more important. That is more important. Okay.
All right.
Last question before I leave the session. Any more question? Last one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, my question is that actually, even initially, we got to know that problem formulation is one of the major problem of our research, PhD
Yes.
research work. Now, and
Yeah.
then based on this lecture too, so, to me, it's equally confound the problem formulation of research topic to me, because I discovered that for one to have a way forward in his research work, he must have to come with the acceptable problem identification of the work he want to do. Now, more especially in an engineering, sir, there are some problems that are clearly known, physically one can see, and they are very literal, one can accept. But based on the statement you have made, that one must have to look and prove beyond reasonable doubt scientifically that this problem is really a problem. Like when you cited an example of somebody that want to use two waste products to replace
Yeah.
cement, but
Yeah.
the question you ask, why must that person use two waste products to replacement instead of one? But in the
Yeah.
real sense, if someone can look at it, yes, two waste may likely be better or be used than one. So, sir, I'm a little bit confused with it. For one to convince the supervisor, even with the physical problem that exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
I give you one example. Okay. I give you. This is a real example of my another student who just passed his viva last week. Okay. Minor correction. I tell you. Okay. So my student wants to use Do you know we call microbial corrosion? Okay, microbial corrosion. Corrosion caused by microbe or bacteria inside the pipeline. Okay, so he comes to me. He said, "Sir, I want to mitigate to kill this bacteria using ultraviolet plus ultrasound." So this is my novelty, sir. I said ultraviolet plus ultrasound, and then I asked him, previous research, what have they done? Oh, they have done a single treatment, either UV or US. But there were some cases they combined both, but only for food processing, wastewater, but not inside the pipeline, because the pipeline is anaerobic, means that no oxygen. There is no proof that UV plus US can be used in pipeline. But when regarding pipelines, people have used UV in the pipeline in the past. Then I asked him, why you want to have US ultrasound combined with UV? Means that two methods similar to the previous case. And he said, I think because maybe it can give a better result. I said, based on what? Then he cried. I said, no evidence. Go back to your literature and tell me something else. Because with this kind of explanation, you will be slaughtered by the panel. Because he merely created novelty. Because it previous use UV, and in the food and wastewater, they use UV and US. So, okay, we'll use on pipeline. But is it necessary? And then for 2 months, he came back to me and said, sir, I found a number of statements. Okay. Based on the pipeline case study, UV can kill bacteria. Okay. But the problem is 99%. But there is 1% that can escape from the death row. And this 1% can grow. And then create another corrosion. It's a never-ending story. So means that UV can kill bacteria, but it's not about how much you can kill. It's about what happened to the remaining bacteria. So means that UV can simply kill bacteria and delay the corrosion. But then the corrosion will restart once the bacteria regrow. Okay. And then he found that if we just simply use ultrasound, okay, ultrasound has problem, a specific problem, because it cannot penetrate the, I forget about, something to do with the modifying the DNA, okay? And he found that ultrasound can deal with this 1%, okay, by making it what we call dormant. Means that it's still alive, but it cannot reproduce. It cannot reproduce. Okay. And I said, okay, now you have scientific evidence. Means that previous research only use UV. They managed to kill bacteria. This evidence based on food and water, but this is aerobic. Okay, this is aerobic, never tested. Pipeline is a different way. It's a different league. Okay. So he said that, and another thing is he said that UV sometimes cannot penetrate the crude oil, because the crude oil, unlike water, the crude oil turbidity, okay, is black in color. So it cannot penetrate. Maybe it can only penetrate on the surface. So combined with ultrasound, ultrasound can travel through the medium. Okay. So means that UV has its shortcoming, US has its shortcoming. Combined together, they can cancel each other, especially this part. So he wants to prove that UV can kill 99%, US can make this 1% dormant, means that still live but cannot reproduce. He managed to prove that hypothesis. Yes. Then he can proceed. So the first attempt, he was just simply thinks that by having US, then he can have the novelty, because previously nobody used combinations of UV and US hybrid treatment. And then I said no, because there is no evidence saying that this problem is really a problem. Okay. Then he go through such a detailed literature, and he found that UV and US both has some problem, but there is a, and he can prove to me, he showed me all this schematic diagram, how UV can overcome the shortcoming of US, and US can do the same things to UV. All the scientific evidence, and based on the statement, stable, he convinced me. Then I said proceed, and he passed. And that is the first question asked by the panel. Why you combine UV and US? See? Am I answering your question now?
Very well, sir.
Yeah. So means that do not create the novelty. Sometimes the novelty is there, but if there is not enough evidence, people will assume you just simply creating the novelty. Even though actually the novelty is valid. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Thank you very much, sir.
so that is the important of, means that when you read the papers, you don't have to understand how did he get this result. No, what you want to know when you read the papers, oh, this guy said that UV has shortcoming, or US has shortcoming, or there is a possibility UV combined with US. That's all. How he got the result is not important. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much, sir.
So to conclude my lectures today, it's all about art of thinking, art of writing. Okay. Do not complicate your writing. There are many ways to write, not necessarily my way, but the principle should be the same. Chapter 1 is the soul. Keep it concise yet informative. Chapter 2 is the way is the premise or the stage you use to justify your chapter 1. And your chapter 3 is the methodology, where you list down your methodologies, your approaches in the form of cluster according to the objective. Means that if you have 4 objectives, I want to see 4 clusters of methodologies in chapter 3. Okay? Because each aims, if you watch my videos later, if you have 3 objectives, each objective, sometimes students ask me, how many objectives do I need? You cannot decide the numbers. Instead, you have to imagine the process from A to Z. And from A to Z, you have to understand what process will produce different data, require different methodology and different data. And that process is one objective. Okay. So 3 objective means that you have 3 different methodology that produce 3 different set of data that contribute to each other, and 3 different set of discussion, 3 different conclusion. As simple as that. Okay? Okay?
Thank you.
All right. So, stay safe. Okay? Enjoy your weekend. See you, I think next week. Okay? Our second session, I'm going to talk about journal indexing. What is H-index? What is Scopus? What is Science Citation Index? Okay? This is very important for you, because if you want to pass your PhD, to submit your thesis, you need to produce journal. Am I right? So you have to understand all the terms. So we are going to talk about journal indexing on the second session. And in the morning and in the afternoon, we are going to talk about your research. The part that you struggle the most. It's a consultation process. Okay. So thank you so much for staying with me for almost 3 hours. Okay. Stay safe, guys. And have a nice day. Okay. Assalamualaikum. Okay.
Thank you.
Assalamu.
All right. No
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, you, Baba.
Okay. Bye.